Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. God bless to continue the study of Surah Al-Kahfi. Let's start off with our intentions for seeking knowledge and start and teach. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I intend to seek knowledge and to teach, to benefit myself and to benefit others, to remind myself and to remind others, to profit myself and to profit others, to urge adherence to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to invite to guidance and to guide that which is good, seeking the face of Allah, His pleasure, His closeness, His reward, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's continue on with our Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma nawwir bil Qur'ani basari washrah bihi sadri wa atliq bihi lisani wasta'mil bihi badani wa qawwi bihi jinani wa asri' bihi fahmi bihawlika wa quwwatika فإنه لا حول ولا قوة إلا بك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين بفضل سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. We are at Surah Kahfi. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We did verses 25 to 28 in the last lesson. Right, and we are still with the people of the cave. They were the companions of the cave. They were in the cave for 300 plus 9 years. So we understand that 300 years in the solar calendar and 309 years in the lunar calendar. So Allah knows best how long they stayed. So Allah said that, but then at the end of the day, Allah is the one who knows exactly how long they stayed. But this is the time frame given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Basically, whatever it is here, if you see it as Allah knows best, that means this is what Allah has said, and it is true because it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the unseen of the skies and the earth are His. So He knows everything because everything belongs to Him. How does He sees? How best He sees? And so we exclaim, right, the fact that Allah sees and Allah hears every single dua, Allah sees every single action, and His sight and His hearing is beyond understanding of us, and we cannot encompass that kind of seeing and hearing. We do understand the meaning of seeing, and we do understand the meaning of hearing, but the seeing and hearing of Allah is not possible for us to imagine because it's infinite. There is no guardian besides Him. So Allah is the one who protects. Allah is the best of friends. In this case, the people of the cave, Allah cared for them, looked after them while they were sleeping in the cave. And we saw how what Allah did to ensure that they are in good state while they sleep in the cave. He has no partner in His judgment. He makes His own judgment. He decides what He wants to do. He decides how long they're going to stay. He decides how many people is going to sit in the cave. He decides why, and why He puts in the cave. That is His judgment. Of course, in all other judgment, Rasulullah SAW is to recite what was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's instruction, and Allah gives us, we should be reciting, of course, to Rasulullah SAW, and also come down to us, because as we read it, we become the Qadi. None can alter his words, and there is no refuge besides him. So this is what it is. Whatever Rasulullah is reciting is from Allah. No one will can alter his words. Here, referring to the Quran, because we might say, some people might argue, well, the Torah was supposed to be altered. These are the words of Allah. The angel are supposed to be altered. These are the words of Allah, right? But that is Allah giving them allow them to do that, to show the deception of human being and how they would change words, even though it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just to suit their whims and fancies. And there is none we can turn to. We can seek help, we can seek solace, we can seek protection except from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None, there is no refuge besides Allah. We are to persevere with those who call on their Rabb morning and evening, desiring his face. We are told to hold ourselves, to be with these people. And it's not easy because of the ways of doing things in this world. We are also attracted to the world. So to be with people who are always thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, morning and evening, doing things only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not easy for many of us who are inclined to be tempted by the world. We should not overlook them, desiring the beauties of this worldly life. So that's what it is. We forget about these groups of people who actually are living life. They live their life, but their life is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't desire the beauties of this world. So we should not ourselves be desiring the beauties of this world. Of course, we live life and we do appreciate beautiful things, but not obsessed with them. We should not follow him whose heart Allah has made unmindful to his remembrance. Right? So that is what it is. These are people who are obsessed with the world. They live life for the world. They forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not be of them. And he follows his low desires, and his affair is a loss. So that's what it is. He follows his whims and fancies. He changes the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is obsessed with the world. He is tempted by the world. He follows his desires. So this is the two groups of people. One, thinking of Allah morning and night, doing whatever. It doesn't mean they sit down and zikr and pray or whatever, but their life is about obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the opposite is people who doesn't remember Allah. So they are the ones who remember Allah. The opposite is a person who have low desires. They don't follow. They follow their low desires. They do not follow their low desires, and they do not desire the beauties of this world. All right, we continue. Waqul, and say. Waqulil haqqu. Of course, it's qul. Qul is instruction, fi'il amr, but because this is a sukun, we put a kasrah here. Waqulil haqqu, the truth, mir rabbikum, from your Rabb. Mir rabbikum, from your Rabb. Faman, then whoever, then who, sha'a, wished, it is past tense, fi'il madi. Fal yu'min, then let him believe. Fa is then lam, this lam is let. Yu'min is believe, and yu'min is fi'il mudari in its jazm state. Fal yu'min, let him believe. Wa man sha'a, and who wished, and man is who, wish, sha'a fi'il madi, wished past tense. Fal yakfur, same structure here. Fa is then, lam is let, yakfur, he disbelieve. Let him disbelieve. Of course, then there's a then there. Then let him disbelieve. Fal yakfur, then let him disbelieve. وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Inna, surely we, that's two words here, inna and a na, another na. And sometimes Allah uses the word inna, na, depending on the state and the structure. So inna, here surely we, a'tadna, from the word adad, a'tadna, we prepared. All right, a'tadna, this is past tense, plural, fi'il madi, a'tadna. Lidhalimin, li is for dhalim, the unjust ones, and many of them plural. Li is huruf jar, so you have ya nun here, right, being in the jar state. The dhalimin are people who are unjust, and the unjust ones. Nara, fire. Ahata, ahata, surrounded about them. Bihim, about them. Bihim, about them. Suradiquha is wall. So suradiqu is rafa. So this verb refers to the suradiqu. All right. So this one is to emphasize it's about them, around them. Surrounded. Ahata bihim. Suradiquha is its wall. Suradiquha. Inna a'tadna lizalimina naran ahata bihim suradiquha. Wa iyastaghithuna, and if they seek relief, this word is ghaith. Ghaith is seek relief. And like I say, la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kun, sorry. Ya hayyu ya qayyum bi rahmatika astaghith. So the word ghaith, bi rahmatika astaghith, right? I seek your help. So yastaghithu, of course, this one is fi'il mudari. The ya and the waw alif is waw alif because it is in the nasab state because of the in, an, all have the same inna of the same structure. All are huruf nasab. Wa iyastaghithu, and if they seek relief, yughathu, they will be relieved. The yughathu here is passive, because it's u and a. They will be relieved. Bima with water. Bima in, of course. B is with ma in. And this one is must be jar state because ba is huruf jar. Kal muhli, like molten brass. Ka is like al muhli, the molten brass. Kal muhli. Yashwi, it scalds. It scalds, referring to the muhul. It scalds the what? The wujuh. Wujuha. Wujuha. Wujuh, wajah is singular. Wajhun is singular. Wujuh, plural. And the faces. And this one is nasab because these are the ones that are being scalded. Bi'sa, evil. Bi'sa sharab, the drink. Sharab is the drink. Yeah, sherbet is a drink, right? Sharab. Wasa'at, sa'a is evil. So evil, right? Bi'sa, evil. Su, evil. Sa'at, this one is a verb because of the ta here. We know it is fi'il madi and it's a female structure. And was evil. Murtafaqa, resting place. The resting place was evil. Wasa'at murtafaqa. Wa is and sa'at evil. Murtafaqa, a resting place. A resting place. Murtafaqa, a resting place. Wa iyastaghithu yughasu bima'in kalmuhli yashwil wujuh. Bi'sa sharab wa sa'at murtafaqa. The truth is from your Rabb, so let him who please believe and let him who please disbelieve. Surely we have prepared for the unjust a fire, the curtains of which shall encompass them about. And if they cry for water, they shall be given water like molten brass, which will scald their faces, and evil the drink, and ill the resting place. وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ, and say, Rasulullah is to tell them, the truth is from your Rabb, not my Rabb, but your Rabb. The Rabb belongs to, is the Rabb of all, not only my Rabb, but all of you has a Rabb, and the truth comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Rabb. Because if you know that Allah, you believe that Allah is your Rabb, then He is the one who nurtures you, who cares for you, who gives you lots of ni'mah, and He doesn't give anything besides the truth. So the truth is from your Rabb. This is what Rasulullah should proclaim in all clarity and firmness. The truth does not bend for the sake of anyone. It follows its own straight way. That is the truth. You want the truth? You take the truth. It is clear, solid, strong, free of all crookedness and manipulation. فَمَنْ شَاءَ, then whoever wished, فَلْيُؤْمِنْ, then he can believe. وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ, and whoever wished, then he can disbelieve. So there's no forcing here. This is the truth. You want the truth, you take the truth. If you don't want the truth, then don't take the truth, don't believe. Right? It is then each individual's own decision whether to take it up or leave it. Whoever does not like the truth may banish himself from it. So if you don't want to believe in the truth, then leave the truth. Go and go for falsehood. So the opposite of truth is falsehood. Then you go for your falsehood. Anyone who does not wish to make his desire fall in line with the truth should know that no privileges are given at the expense of faith. Right? That means you will not get any privilege. You must have faith, then you can have a privilege. You cannot say that, oh, my ancestors were prophets, like the Jews used to say that, oh, we are Bani Israel, we are descendants of the prophets. No, you must be in line with the truth. Then that is your privilege, because then you are privileged because you are with the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person who does not lower his head to Allah in His Majesty has no place in the service of Allah's message. Right? You need to bow down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show a sense of humility and honor Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and humble yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you are with the truth. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ yakfur. You can see yu'min is from the word iman and yakfur is from the word kafir, kafara. Faith does not belong to anyone who makes concessions in it. It belongs to Allah who needs no one. If you want to change the belief and everything just to suit your whims and fancies, that it doesn't belong to you. You don't have faith, right? The faith that you have, it belongs to Allah who needs no one. He doesn't need anyone, right? If you want to have faith, you can have faith. If you don't want to have faith, it's up to you. That's what Allah says here. Faith does not obtain strength if it is supported by people who does not seek it for its own sake, or who do not accept it as it is. Right? So you do not get strength. Faith does not obtain strength. That means your faith cannot get stronger, right? If it is supported by people who do not seek it for its own sake. So you seek faith for faith itself, not for yourself. Right? And do not accept it as it is. You must accept the beliefs system that is presented to you as it is, and not try to change it according to your whims and fancies. Before this, we had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us that the word of Allah cannot be changed. Right? So if you think you want to, because they were trying to rationalize Rasulullah, maybe trying to compromise his faith and change it, and no, there's no such thing as changing. A person who does not wish to sit with people dedicated to Allah's cause because he feels himself above them will have nothing to contribute to the Muslim community. We saw that this is in instance when Rasulullah was trying to convert the elites of the Quraysh society and trying to convince them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah is the only God. And they find it difficult. One of the things about the teachings of Rasulullah that was difficult for them was that the weak, the poor, and everyone else is at the same status, and the only one that is good, is seen as honored, are those with taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these people have been so used to being arrogant, being full of themselves, they have sort of requested that Rasulullah do not bring his sahabas who are of where they're concerned very lowly people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it clear that there is nothing to change here. If you want to take it. If you don't want, then you can just leave it. Right? So Rasulullah also obeyed the instructions of Rasulullah, the instructions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the directions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he left them as they were, and he turned to his friends and sahabas, right, who were all sincerely doing things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such a person is better left out. Inna a'tadna lil-zalimina naran ahata bihim suradiquha. And Allah says, surely we, definitely we, the emphasis, we, so it's emphasized here, we have prepared. So this is an emphasized statement when you start with an ism here, huruf of course, and an ism, right? So this is ism jumla ismiya, which means it's very stressed. Inna a'tadna lil-zalimin, for those who wrong themselves, for the unjust ones. The unjust ones, they did injustice to themselves by being arrogant. They did injustice to the Muslims for denouncing them, the injustice in the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the instructions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for demanding that it be changed and things like that. So this is lots of injustices that they have done. Inna a'tadna lizalimina naran. So Allah has prepared for them. So lizalimin is brought forward to emphasize it's exclusively, especially for them, and what is prepared, the fire. So a fire, a huge fire, and it's nakira, not the would be specific, right? Specified, it is not specified. That means it's a tremendous fire, lots of fire everywhere. We don't know how, but it's the extent of the fire. And then Allah described the fire, ahatat, and from the muhit, hawa tahut is to encompass, is to circle, is to be there all the time. Be him of them, that will be the people who are wrongdoers. Suradiquha, it's walls. All right, some translations say it's curtains, it's wall, but basically they are engulfed, right, in the walls of fire. Inna atadna lizalimina naran ahata bihim suradiquha. So here we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only say that they have he has prepared for the fire, but he explained and he described the kind of fire that they're gonna get. That means they're gonna be engulfed in the fire. The surah then portrays a scene of the hereafter, describing what is prepared for the disbelievers on the one hand and for the believers on the other. The unjust ones will have a fire that has been made ready to receive them. It is all made, set, and brought forward. It does not require any new effort to receive them. No one is needed to kindle that fire. It does not take any time to light or burn fiercely. So it's prepared, especially prepared for them. Right? Allah has prepared. Definitely, these people who are arrogant, who denounces the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who seek the world and who are heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are heedless of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who followed their desires, Allah has prepared, and then they choose untruth over truth. So these people have been, Allah has prepared for them the fire. Allah does not need anything to create whatever He wishes other than to actually will it, and it exists. Expression here uses the term prepare to indicate speed of action. It's done already. Everything is put in place to take the unjust ones and the disbelievers straight to the fire that is already prepared to receive them. There's a fire that has huge walls that surge to encompass its inhabitants. They are securely captured there with no hope of escape or rescue. Right, so this is a fire that Allah described. It tells us whether it's curtains or walls. It is all engulfed. We are surrounded by fire. No, nor is there any chance of having a breath of cooling air or the chance of a reduction in the suffering. And if they seek relief, right, they will be relieved with water like molten brass. It scalds the faces. So Allah says they would ask. So this one tells us they would ask for relief. Please, reduce this intense fire, this intense torture that we are going through. And they ask for relief, and they will be given relief. But what is their relief? They have water, which is like boiling brass. It means it's really hot boiling water. Yashwil wujuh, and just putting near it, it will scald their faces. But this is the kind of water they get when they ask for relief. So there's no relief there. There's no reduction. In fact, it gets worse because you're going to be presented with really hot water. Right? Of course, for us, 100 degrees is already so hot. But water can go above 100 degrees when it is under pressure and with impurities inside. So it's really hot. So Allah says that molten brass. Now brass has a very high melting point, and brass is it's an alloy of copper, and copper is one of the metals with very high melting points, or boiling points even. So it's really hot. It scalds the faces. Al-muhl is thick water which is similar to the sediment in oil. So this is one meaning given of the word muhl. Kal muhli, say muhl, like blood and pus. A few opinions, right? It's not something that is pleasant. The thing that is heated to the ultimate temperature. It's really hot. They'll be given water, and the water is really hot. So as mentioned, if it's going to be hot and it's going to be pus and blood, that means it's got impurities and it's really disgusting, right? It will be either oil impurities or blood and pus impurities. So the temperature is really high, not 100 degrees C. Everything that is melted and boiled, right? Ad-Dahak said the water of hell is black and it itself is black and its people are black. Right? So black in the sense that they're full of darkness of themselves. Because you call it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described them as yadhlimun, right? Or dhalimeen. Dhalimin means they have immersed themselves in darkness. The word dhulumat also comes from the root word, same root, dhalama, right? To be unjust, to deny themselves of light, of truth. And that is why they are considered as dark people. Sa'id ibn Jubair said, when the people of hell get hungry, they will ask for relief from it, and they will be given the tree of Zakum from which they will eat. The tree will tear off the skin of their faces, and if anyone who knew them were to pass by, he would recognize the skin of their faces in the tree. It's a terrible condition. Then they would feel thirsty, so they will ask for a drink, and they will be granted water like mohol, that is what has been heated to the ultimate temperature. When it's brought near their mouths, the flesh of their faces from which the skin has been torn off will be baked. So this is a very, 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 very frightening situation, a very state of affairs in the next world, which is described, right, by Sa'id ibn Jubair, radiallahu anhu. Yashwi, to roast. If an individual stands in the rain, it will not fall onto their faces first, as one usually puts their head down. However, because this is hellfire, their necks will be held back, and every drop will roast their faces. Yashwil wujuh, they talk about roast, scald, right? Of course, in English, if you talk about water, water doesn't roast, water will scald. If it's fire, the fire might roast, but yashwi, right? So these are the various meanings given to the word yashwi. This water will not just hit their faces, but it will also travel down their throats. In this life and in their tents, there exist kinds of drinks for the rich and affluent. As soon as they call the cupbearers, they bring them different cups of various drinks. So this is the life of the rich and famous who can get whatever they want to get. Then they just relax. But now it is the other way. They will be destroyed. They will be in the terrible heat, right? They will be in terrible heat. The water they get is not pleasant at all. In fact, it is torturous water. Bi'sa sharab, an evil drink. Wasa'at murtafaqa, right? A horrible drink and a terrible place of rest. Murtafaqa comes from rafiqa. Rafiqa means a place where if a person is, you call a person rafiqa, that means that person is very easy person. You feel good being with that person. You don't feel tense. You don't feel worried. You don't feel, having to watch your words and things like this. They make you feel easy. So murtafaqa is a place of supposed to be good. Instead of getting good place, it's an evil place where you can't find ease at all. Although the word murtafaqa is used here to actually emphasize the sarcasm here. In this description, there is an element of bitter irony. They are not in the fire to take rest, but to be burnt in punishment for their wrongdoing. So also evil, the drink is terrible, and the place of rest is terrible. So there's no place of rest. They are not resting, so there is sarcasm here. In hell too, they will have cupbearers to bring them cups of drink. But what a drink? A drink like molten brass. A drink as hot as the tear of the orphans and as blazing as the sighs of the poor. So this one is the Mufassirin here is describing how they used to torture the orphans, right? And the tear of the orphan is just so hot because they are not happy with the situation that they are in. And the poor, the sighs of the poor, a sigh is like sin as fire coming out of the mouth of the person because of the dejection, because of the humiliation that they have to go through in the hands of these rich people, rich and arrogant people. Bi'sa sharab, evil is the drink, and evil is and sa'at murtafaqa, and evil is the place of rest. Wasa'at murtafaqa. Where, yes, whatever exists there, it is the embodiment of that which they have produced here in this world. So they earned these states that they will be in the next world. May Allah protect us from such a state. This verse makes it quite plain that the story of the slippers and the cave has been related to tell the opponents of Islam, this is the truth from your Rabb. Now, whosoever wills, he may accept it, and whosoever wills, he may reject it. But people must understand that no compromise will be made in regard to the truth, just as the slippers and the cave did not make any compromise with regard to their creed. So this is what it is, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told them what is the truth, take it or leave it, and it's not going to change. The words of Allah is fixed. No one is able to change the words of Allah. They did not make any compromise in regard to the doctrine of Tawheed after they had believed in it and categorically declared our Rabb is the one who alone is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. So they stood up and declared that Allah is the only Rabb and Allah is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. He is the sustainer, He is the maintainer, He is the administrator of the heavens and the earth. After this declaration, they did not in any way accede to the making of any compromise with the people who had gone astray, but firmly declared, we will not give him up and pray to other deities because it will be the most improper thing if we do so. They say, right? Either shop or terrible thing. They know that to give up Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to pray to others than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a terrible, terrible thing indeed. After making this declaration, they led their people and deities and took refuge in the cave without taking any provisions with them. After this, when they rose up, the only thing about which they showed any anxiety was that their people might not succeed in forcing them back to their own faith. This might succeed. So they slept there. They didn't bring anything along with them. Sometimes this reminds you of the Muhajirs who left Mecca for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they are abused in Mecca and they left without anything at all. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the people of Ansar, right, for blessing, for being good and accepting as brothers and sharing whatever they have. So Allah, they lived it, they put their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After this, when they rose up, the only thing about which they showed any anxiety was that their people might not succeed in forcing them back to their own faith. Basically, they were afraid, right, that they would be brought back to the faith if they go down and meet the people in the town who would force them. They need to eat, they need to find food, but they need to be very careful, as we saw in the story. After relating these things, the Quran addresses Rasulullah with the effect, though these words are really meant for the opponents of Islam. It is absolutely out of question whether any compromise can be made with mushriks and disbelievers. Present the truth intact to them, whether they accept it or not. So there is no such thing as changing the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the truth. Why should we change the truth? Just present to them. It's up to them whether they accept it or not. If they do not accept it, they themselves will meet an evil end. That is the fire that Allah has prepared for them. As regards those who have accepted the truth, they are really those people who have a word with Allah and they alone will be honored. So this is a continuation of the previous part where we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded Rasulullah to be with those people who are inclined to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is not after the world, whose heart is not heedless of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who does not follow their desires. So this is who they are. And they have great worth with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they deny themselves a lot, they control themselves, they hold themselves against following their desires and the temptations of the world. Therefore, we should not discard them and prefer the chiefs and the rich people who may be neglectful of Allah and be slaves of their lust, even though they might be possessors of worldly grandeur. Inna alladhina amanu, inna usually alladhina, those amanu, they believed, past tense, fi'il madi, wa amilu salihat, amal, amilu is also a fi'il madi, and did, past tense, and they did, salihat, righteousness. And this is a description of the amal. The amal is removed here because the word amilu actually shows that there is deeds which are done with intentions. Amal are deeds done with intention. Fa'ala are deeds without thinking, without intention. Salihat. Inna, surely we, la nudi'u, not we, let waste. La is not. Nudi'u, from the word da'i, to let things go to waste. Waste. So no is we, and this is a fi'il mudari in its rafa state. Not we let to waste ajra, reward of, this is an of, reward of man ahsana amala, one who did good. One, he did good. This is ahsana. He did good works. Amala is a deed. He did good deed. All right, a good deed. So one good work only here. Innal ladhina amanu wa aminu salihati inna la nudhi'u ajra man ahsana amala. Ajr is reward. All right, on the other hand, Allah talks about another group of people. Most importantly, they believe. Innal ladhina amanu, and it's those who believe, they have faith in them, and they strive and they work with their faith. They go on doing lots of amal salih, and we always ask Allah to include us among the salihin, those who are inclined to doing acts that will reform themselves and make them better slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna la nudhi'u, surely we will not waste the reward of, we will not allow to go to waste the reward of those who did good. Who did a good work, a good deed. So one good deed also will not be wasted, will be seen and will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah then refers to those who believe and did amal salih. They cause themselves to put in good. That means they cause themselves to be in a state of good by adhering to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether this recompense is little or much, general or particular, from everyone in every age and year and in any condition, Allah will not waste it. That means the reward of one who acts good, who did a good deed, right? He did a good deed. One good deed also is good enough. Allah will consider that good deed, just like we have Allah saying in the surah, says, surah, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Even a tiny drop of evil deed will be seen, a tiny drop of good deed will be seen, and tiny drop of evil deed will be seen. I think that's Zilzal. All right, they did this with intentions of doing good. So their actions are there. They desire to do things which are good. They're solid, improve themselves, and everything is for good. Why? And what is good is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And amal salih is any deed, any action that is done according to the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to seek the sincerely seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ulaika, those, lahum, for them, brought forward to emphasize, Jannatu Adnin, Garden of Eden. Eden is eternity. Adnin is eternity. Jannat is plural here. Especially for them, gardens of eternity. Sorry, this is plural. Gardens of eternity. Especially for them, gardens of eternity. Tajri from the Jariya. Jariya is to flow. We have Amal Jariya. Right? That means deeds that flow, deeds that will continue to reward you even after you have gone on. The Ta here refers to the Jannat, female here, right? Singular. Tajri, so Jannat, Tajri, no, sorry. The Ta refers to the Anhar. And the Anhar here is the river. The river here is Rafa. Tajri, flowing, min tahatihim, min, from below them. The them here refers to the Jannat, many Jannat. Tahati is below, from below them. Al-Anhar, the river. So rivers flow from below them. Ulaika lahum jannatu adnin tajri min tahtihimul anhar. Yuhallawna. Hilya is to be decorated. Yuhallawna, passive here. They will be adorned. They will be beautified. that are decorated, fiha, in them referring to the jannat, many gardens, min asawira, of bracelets, min is of, asawira. So you can see asawira doesn't go into asawiri because you can see min is is a huruf jar, but asawira stays asawira and not asawiri. Min asawira because it's fixed in that structure. It can be u and a but not e. And some of the words are like that. Min dhahabin, of gold. See, gold is in its dhahabin, right? Min dhahabin, of gold. Is tanwin here and it's jar because of the min. Ulaika lahum jannatu adnin tajri min tahtihimul anharu yuhallawna fiha min asawira min zahabin. Wayalbasuna, from the word labasa, malabis is clothing, right? Wayalbasuna, and they are dressed, This one is not passive. They are dressed sounds passive, and they dress in green clothing. This is an action that they do themselves. So, and they dress. Our dress is like someone dressed them, but this one is not passive. This is not u and a there. Wayalbasuna, and they dress. Thiyaban, thawb. Thawb, we have seen that word before. Thawb is a kind of clothing, right? Khudran, from the word khadir, khadara, right? Akhdar, this is green, right? Khadir is the green one, because it's everlasting, ever living. Thiyaban khudran, green clothing. Min sundusin, min is of. Sundus is silk, thin silk. What istabrak? Istabrak is brocade. Brocade is actually thick silk and beautiful designs on it. Istabrak. What istabrak? وَيَلْبَسُونَ ثِيَابًا خُضْرًا مِنْ سُنْدُسٍ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ مُتَّكِئِينَ ka'a is to relax. Muttaki'ina, referring to those people, those reclining, they are among those who recline. Fiha, in them here referring to the Jannah. Alal araiki, ala is on araik. Araik is thrones. Araik, thrones. وَيَلْبَسُونَ ثِيَابًا خُضْرًا مِنْ سُنْدُسٍ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ مُتَّكِئِينَ فِيهَا عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ. Ni'mat thawab, ni'mah is excellent, best. Ni'mat thawab, excellent the reward, or was excellent the reward. It's a noun, it's a verb here, fi'il madi here. Thawab, the thawab, it was excellent. Was excellent the thawab. And they say excellent sounds like an adjective. We put in was just to show that it is an affair, right? The reward was excellent. Ni'mat thawab, that is how excellent was the reward. That's how it is supposed to be, the senses. Wahasunat murtafaqa. We have the word just now, murtafaqa, a resting place, but now it's not as sa'at, but hasunat. Hasunat is good, and it was good, a resting place. Murtafaqa, wa hasunat murtafaqa, a resting place. All right, ni'mat thawab, hasunat murtafaqa, wa hasunat murtafaqa. Ulaika lahum, those for them, especially for them. So who are they? They are those who did amal saleh, who believe first and foremost, they must believe. Then they are, because of their belief, they are inclined to do amal saleh. And Allah says, not even a single good deed will be wasted. Every single deed will be accounted for. They will be rewarded for every single deed they do. Right? Nothing should be denounced of their actions. The smallest thing that they do will be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ulaika, those lahum, for them, jannatu adnin, they will be blessed with, especially for them, the garden of eternity, garden of perpetuality, tajri, and flowing from below them, from below the gardens, right? Al-anhar, rivers. So rivers will flow from below the gardens. It's a beautiful image for us to think about. Especially for those who do righteous deeds, Their rewards are gardens of eternity, under whose trees and castles rivers flow. These running waters provide all the elements of a cool atmosphere, pleasant scenery, gardens, and a fresh breeze. We love to look at beautiful gardens with the rivers flowing, beautiful rivers flowing, right? Water is supposed to give you calm and tranquility, and it's like some kind of Chinese loose that likes water kind of movement, right? This is some kind of feng shui, they say. All right, anyway. Yuhallawna fiha, right? They will be decorated in it of bracelets of gold. Now, Muslim men are not allowed to wear gold, right? So the next one, they will be rewarded with bracelets of gold. Bracelets of gold, usually people who wear at that time, in some times, in those times, many times when people use when you have thick bracelets of gold to show how rich they are, right? And to be arrogant about their wealth, to show off, right? And nowadays, you see like people who like to wear gold, men who like to wear gold bracelets, and the old men are not allowed to wear gold items, right? But according to Hamza Yusuf, there are differences of opinion concerning gold. Whatever the case is, for us, Shafiq means gold is haram for men. But they will be decorated. So Allah will, because they control themselves, they heard the ruling that gold, man is not to wear gold, and they stop themselves from wearing gold no matter how much they want to wear the gold. And then Allah will reward them with gold in the next world. They will be decorated with gold bracelets. The dwellers of paradise will be adorned with bracelets of gold like the kings of ancient times. This will be to show that they will be adorned like the kings of this world, whereas an unbeliever and wicked king will be disgraced there. Right? So you have gold in this world, you go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you want to show off your wealth, next world you will not get those things. وَيَلْبَسُونَ ثِيَابًا خُضْرًا مِّن سُنْدُسٍ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ, and they will clothe themselves, right, in green clothing. So green seems to be something that shows beauty, green clothing, everlasting, right? And it's of silk. Again, men are not allowed to wear silk. And this is thin silk and thick silk, because silk is expensive material. And the Arabs obtained silk from Syria, because Syria is along the Silk Route, right? You heard of the Silk Route from China, and they used to sell silk in Mecca. So for those, some people actually claim that the Arabs didn't know about China. That is quite false, because the Arabs were dealing in silk, and they actually knew the silk came from China. All right, so anyway, this is what it is. Those people who control themselves, who deny themselves of silk, they will be wearing silk, beautiful silk. وَيَلْبَسُونَ ثِيَابًا خُضْرًا مِّن سُنْدُسٍ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ. This tells us in this world, people are people who are following their base desires. They don't follow the instructions from the prophets of Allah. They are after things which shows how grand and great they are. But those people who control themselves for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will get this in the next world. They will be in full luxurious attire made of different types of fine silk, some of which is light, while the other is thick like velvet. Muttaki'ina fiha ala al-ara'ik. They will be reclining in them, in the gardens, on thrones. They will be given thrones, high thrones, and they will recline on the thrones. These blessed people will be seated on raised thrones. This is a state of being honored for their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those will be rewarded with the highest place because of their patience. It's all about controlling themselves, right? Holding themselves day and night for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ni'mat thawab, excellent reward, and a very good place of rest. Wahasunat murtafaqa, and what an excellent murtafaq means, and how good a place to dwell and rest and stay. And so this is really murtafaqa, because a place where you find ease, you find happiness and tranquility. You don't feel upset, you don't feel stressed, you don't feel worried, nothing of that sort. Best, the rewards are really the best of rewards, and it is a very good place to take rest in. Abiding therein, excellent it is as an abode and as a place to rest in. While reading the description of the hardships and punishments of hell and the pleasures and comforts of Jannah, the readers must keep in mind that these are mutashabihat. The unseen realities are beyond our precise understanding. What is mutashabihat? Mutashabihat are things which are mutashabihat means resemble, right? This is how they have to be described so that people could sort of figure out what it is, but in reality, it is beyond what they can imagine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described them in the closest words available in human language to give us some idea of the rewards and punishment that people will encounter there. So here we see punishment being there first because we are dealing with people who are arrogant here. So the punishment is described there to warn them of the punishment. And then we remind that if you choose good, then you will get the reward of Jannah. We should accept them as they are without trying to define their exact nature in precise human words or without trying to interpret them according to the existing laws of nature for this temporary world as known to us. Because it's a different world altogether. Yes, you'll be raised in our body, but we won't be exactly the same as we are now. We'll feel the pain because the punishment of hell. Hell is there for us to feel the pain. We will feel joy. Right? So those emotions and feelings will still be there. The life hereafter will be governed by a new eternal set of laws of nature only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So leave it as that. Allah has told us we're good, we get rewarded in the next world. We are bad, we have this punishment, which is a horrible, horrible punishment. Let's reset it. وَاتْلُوا مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ لا مبدل لكلماته ولن تجد من دونه ملتحدا واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عينك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا وقل الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر إنا أعتدنا للظالمين نارا أحاط بهم سرادقها وإن يستغيثوا يغاثوا بماء كالمهل يشوي الوجوه بئس الشراب وساءت مرتفقا إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إنا لا نضيع أجر من أحسن عملا أولئك لهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتهم الأنهار يهلون فيها من أساور من ذهب ويلبسون ثيابا خضرا من سندس واستبرق متكئين فيها على الأرائك نعم الثواب وحسنت مرتفقا. Now, if you notice in this description of hell and heaven, it's quite different from our normal description. We are aware as we move through the Quran. Alhamdulillah, we've been learning the Quran for almost more than 10 years. Alhamdulillah, for those who have been with us since PPRS olden days. We see that in this particular description, Allah actually describes according to the arrogance of the people here, right? Where the hell is concerned, it's about the drinks that they used to drink. So now the drinking is going to be evil. It's terrible drinking. They have this great resting place. The great resting place is evil. And where the heaven is concerned, is talking about their arrogance here. And these people who are believers control themselves, right? And control them. Allah says they hold themselves from being obsessed with the with the temptations of the world, worldly things, right? And did not follow their desires. So what are the things you look at here? Allah didn't talk about the food, didn't talk about the drink of the Jannah, but He mentions about dressing, because that's arrogance. People with arrogance dress up arrogantly. They want all the expensive items. Of course, nowadays it's about the branded goods and everything. So dressing, right? Gold. First was gold, then talk about silk, right? Then talk about thrones, because these are items of arrogance in this world, right? Wearing gold to show how rich you are, having gold chain, gold bracelets and everything, having clothing, which is so expensive clothing to show how rich and successful you are, and sitting on great couches and everything, big, beautiful crowd couches, right? And this is identified in the description of the heaven, and to show that these people, you will get those people who are inclined in this world, they control their desires and they do amal salih. Allah will reward them with all those things that these people in this world were proud of and were after. You see, so and good, the reward is really excellent, right? And the resting place is best. All right, we go on to the set of words. Next sets of words. Wahafafna. Wa is and, hafafa is to surround, na is we surrounded, so it's past tense, fi'il madi. Zara'an, cultivated fields, a few meanings to it, corn, whatever that is cultivated, basically grains, food, plants that are grown from grains. Then you have verse 33, kilta, the ta at the end shows both, right? Kilta, both. Khilalahuma, khilala is around, huma is both of them, right? Khilalahuma, in their midst, they are referring to two, right? Huma is there. Verse 34, yuhawiruhu, yuhawiru is fi'il mudari, it means talking or conversing, discussing. Who is him? Nafara, men. Okay. Wahafafna, and we surrounded, zara'a, cultivated fields, kilta, both, khilalahuma, in their midst, yuhawiruhu, talking to him, nafara, men. 34. Verse 35, we've got tabida, it perish. Right, it perishes actually. Right, the tabida, it perishes. It is fi'il madi, but it is nasab. Munqalaba, what is qalaba? Qalaba is to return or to turn, and munqalaba, a place of return. Munqalaba. Then you've got turab, you are quite familiar with this word. Turab means dust. Then you've got husbanan, a torment. Husbanan, a punishment, a torment. And fatosbiha, the word sabaha means also has a meaning of it will become. Fa is then, it become, the tu is it. Tosbiha is fi'il mudari, nasab state. Tabida, it perishes. Munqalaba, a place of return. Turabin, dust. Husbanan, a torment. And fatusbiha, then it will be sa'idan, earth or soil. Sa'id and sa'idan, earth or soil. All right. Zalaqan is slippery. Zalaqan is slippery. And the next set, ghawran, deep sunken. Ghawran, deep sunken. Talaban, to seek. No, actually not to seek. It is ism. Seeking. Seeking can be a noun in some sense. Lots of words here. Then you have yuqallibu from the qalabun, qalbun, if it's a car, we saw it's a dog, but qalbun, to turn around, right? We saw also in the book of in the words of the people of the cave. Yuqallibu, turning, causing to turn around, so it's twisting. Then you've got kaffaihi, his hands, kaffaihi, his hands. It's a different word. Usually you use yadun, but this is his hands, kaffaihi. Hawiyatun, destroyed, something that is destroyed. A destroyed thing, hawiyatun. Oroshiha, its trellises. Oroshiha, when you grow dates, and you've got places to place the dates on bars and everything to grow the dates. Is sterilizes. All right, so we have this word here: zalakan, slippery; ghauran, deep sunken; talaban, seeking; yuqallibu, twisting; kaffaihi, his hands; hawiyatun, destroyed; and urushiha, its trellises. All right. Wadrib lahum mathalar rajulaini. Wadrib. The word daraba is to beat or to strike. Right. So some translation as what present, but we'll use the word strike because in English it is okay to just strike for them an example. Wadrib, and strike for them. So it's instruction here, fi'al amr. Wadrib lahum, for them, especially for them, brought forward. Mathalan, an example, rajulaini, two men. So here Allah gives an example of two men. Ja'alna li ahadihima, ja'alna, we made, or we gave, or we put, li, for, ahad means one, hima, one of them, hima is referring to two of them here. Rajulain, line means two, right? Rajulin, rajulun, that one with plural, right? Rajulun is plural, but it says rajulain, two of them. Li ahadihima, for one of them, jannatain, two gardens again. For them, two gardens again. Allah made two gardens for them. For one of them, sorry, for jannatain. So jannatain here is nasab because it is a thing that's being made. Min a'nabin, of grapes. Inab is grape, inab is grape, a'nab is grapes. Right, plural. Min a'nabin, and of course jar state because min is sort of jar. Wadrib lahum mathalar rajulaini. Ja'alna li ahadihima jannataini min a'nabin. Wahafafnahuma, and we surrounded both. So there's a we there. We surrounded both. Wahafafnahuma, and we surrounded both. This one, the word hafafa just now was to surround. Now we are the one who surrounded both. Huma, both the gardens. There's two gardens, right? We hafafnahuma binakhalin. Nakhal is date palms. B is with. Nakhlin jar. Waja'alna, and we placed bainahuma, between them, zar'an, cornfields, or any kind of grain there, right? Cornfields. And set forth to them a parable of two men. For one of them, we made two gardens of grapevines, and we surrounded them both with palms, and in the midst of them, we made cornfields. All right, so here Allah described a story. Strike an example for them, especially for them. Who are these people? These people are those people who are not convinced, who doesn't understand things. Make them understand, right, what it is all about. An example. So this example is about two men, Julain. We made for one of them. So only one of them were given gardens. Gardens of grapes, gardens of grapes. So grapes we know has to be grown. Grapes are vines. They have vines. So they have sticks. If you've seen the grapevines, they put sticks and they have the soil is always lifted a bit, right, to have like a mound like that, and then they will have. That's how they look after grapes. So Allah bless him with this garden of grapes. So that means when it's Jannat. When we talk about Jannat, Jannat means gardens which are large and lots of fruits and grapes and everything. So Allah gives an example of two men. One of them, Allah gave two gardens of date vines. وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ. So you can imagine there's two big gardens of date vines, and around the garden, Allah surround the garden with date palms. So you've got grapes and you've got dates, right? So it shows luxury. He made it better by placing date palms around the two gardens. وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا, and we place between them cornfields. So you've got, whether it's cornfields or whatever grains you can talk about. Some says crops, right? Some translations actually use the word crops instead of cornfields. Whatever the case is, it's a beautiful garden, right? You've got dates, palms around it. You've got vines, grapevines, two gardens of grapevines, and in between the two gardens of grapevines, you've got cornfields. It's really lush, it's beautiful. The 2 gardens are full of fruit, having vineyards which are made even more splendid with a siege of date palms. In between 2 gardens, a large field which the man uses to cultivate grains and other plants. So he's really, really well off. Beautiful garden he is blessed with. Kilta, each of, some say both, some doesn't say kill. Both the gardens, each of the gardens are attached. Each of and atat. Ata is to bring to, but a past tense, ta at the end showing female. Each of the gardens brought is produced. Ukulaha is produced. Both of the gardens brought its produce, but Allah, it doesn't seem singular. We'll look at the other meaning, and this is other translations. Kiltal jannataini atat ukulaha. Ukul means things to be eaten. Kulu, washrabu, kulu, the word kulu is it. Ukulaha is produced. That means it's food, whatever it is to produce. Walam tadlim, and not lam. Lam is huruf jazm. Remember, lam yalid, always remember lam yalid. The yalid is in its jazm state because it's sukun. Sukun here, see? So lam tadlim, and not it wrongs. So the ta here refers to one of the gardens because we're going to take kilta as each one of them, right? Each one of the gardens. Kiltal jannataini atat ukulaha walam tadlim minhu, of it shay'an, a thing. Right? Minhu, of it a thing. Does it not it wrongs of it a thing. Wafajjarna, and we cause to fajar. To fajjar is because to gush out, and we cause to flow. Okay, the translation here is to flow. We're going to use the translation, and we cause to flow. Khilalahuma, through both. Khilalahuma, through both means through both the gardens. Nahar, a river. Wafajjarna khila means the river is really, really flowing swiftly. Lots of water in the river because it's wafajjarna. We are the one who caused to flow between them a river. Each of these gardens brought forth its produce and failed not in the least therein. In the midst of them, we caused a river to flow. Kiltal jannataini atat ukulaha. So we are told that there are 2 gardens, and each of the garden produced lots and lots of fruit. They give lots of fruits. So these 2 gardens, at the point of agricultural products, were matured, and the fruits of the trees were wholly in full maturation, and their farmings were going to be harvested in a manner that nothing was withheld therein. Walam tazlim minhu shay'an, that is, it does not do any injustice. But the man looked after the gardens, he tended well to his garden, and the garden produced lots and lots of fruits. It does not do any injustice to the man, right? This because the man has done the work, and so it produced is there. Walam tazlim minhu, of it shay'an, a thing. This is again a picture of continuing prosperity. In the original Arabic text, negating any failure by the 2 gardens to yield their produce is described as doing no wrong or injustice in that respect. So the word tazlim, right, shows that it did not, the produce were just abundant. There's no way the produce is going to do any injustice to the owner. Walam tazlim minhu shay'a, a thing at all. Wafajjarna, on top of that, Allah caused a river to flow through the gardens. Wafajjarna. So it is of the blessings of Allah. Everything Allah says, waja'alna, we made for him 2 gardens, and we caused to surround the gardens, date palms, and we placed a cornfield between the gardens. Of course, this word is to remind people, those arrogant ones out there who are rich and powerful, whatever this man has was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The river also, he caused to gush out, to flow between them, a river running in between 2 gardens as much that is pleasant to the whole scene, because the running water reassures the owner of inexhaustible produce that in turn bring much wealth, right? With water is necessary. You have irrigation. If there's no water, how are you going to irrigate your garden? So Allah is blessing him with great things, right? Even allow water to gush forth, and he can use the water to water his plants. To water his plants, right? Most important of all was water, the cause of the life of everything, and in gardens and farmings in particular, it is a necessity. So he's blessed. His garden had ample water. It's a river gushing through his garden. So the possessor of those couple of gardens, two gardens actually, and farming had got many kinds of fruits and so much income, so rich. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ, and was for him fruits. Thamar is fruits. فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ, then he said to his companion, li is to sahaba here, sahibi, li is urujar, so it becomes sahibihi, his companion. Wahuwa, while he, yuhawiruhu, he is conversing with him. So we see a state here. Wahuwa yuhawiruhu. وكان له ثمر فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا I أكثر more, and the word is kathir here is a lot. أكثر more, because it is a comparative here. Minka, than you. Malan, wealth. Wa'azzu, and mightier from the word azza, izza, aziz, right? Root word is azaza, means might. Wa'azzu, and mightier, nafara, in men. Ana aksaru minka malaw wa'azzu nafara. And he who has much produced, so he said to his companion while he disputed with him, I have greater wealth than you and am mightier in followers. Here it says, and he who has much produce. وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ, and was for him lots of fruit. That means it's very rich, right? وَكَانَ, and was for him, especially for him, lots and lots of fruit. So we saw the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how Allah made it possible for this man to have a two beautiful gardens of vines, two beautiful vine gardens, crops in between, dates around him. So it shows how wealthy he is. And Allah says, and was for him lots and lots and lots of fruits. You got fruits, wealth. Some translation says samar here as well. This parable compares a believer with someone who claims to believe in Allah, but who is in reality an unbeliever. One of the garden owners is richer than the other, a superiority that caused him to become arrogant and proud towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah reminded us in the story was related by saying that Allah gave him all these things. Allah blessed him with lots of produce. Faqala, so he had so much. Then he said, so what happens to him who has lots of blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says, Lisahibihi, to his friend, wa huwa yuhawiruhu, and he was talking or conversing with his friend. Ana aktharu, I am more than you in wealth, malan, wealth, wa azzu, and I am mightier in men. That means I've got a bigger following. So that is two things that human beings are proud of, is wealth and followings. And Singapore in this world also, we're always obsessed of how many people follow us in Facebook, how many people like our Facebook postings. فَقَالَ لِصَاحِبِهِ وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ أَنَا أَكْثَرُ مِنْكَ مَا لَوْ عَزُّ نَفَرًا. And you can see Facebook in which we show people the things that we do. Right? We have things that we buy, the things that we go holiday, the things that we eat, everything people like to post on Facebook and on Instagram. We actually see the man going to one of his gardens, gratified as he looks at it. He's full of pride, strutting like a peacock, calling for admiration. He was talking. Since the world was in his favor, and those who are of little capacity and are in lack of personality, when everything is in their favor, they become proud and begin disobedience. The first stage of which is self-admiration and arrogance upon others. The owner of those couple of gardens started speaking with his friend. So he was there with his friend and he saw how much he has And he starts saying, I am better than you. I am greater than you in wealth. I've got more wealth than you. So he started comparing with his friend. And I got more people. So that is the seed of arrogance. I am better than you. Therefore, he told his friend that in comparison with him, he had many men in his authority, and also he had both abundance of wealth, social position, and influence. He was, of course, in this case, we talk about wealth, mal. Of course, when you have wealth, you've got status, right? And people admire you, people respect you. So this, of course, refers to the elites of the Quraysh who are against, who doesn't want to have the poor with them, because they think they are better off than these people. And he asked the companion what he could say and what he had to utter. So this is not in the Quran, right? But the verse was there. Wadakhala, and he entered. Wa is endakhala, he entered past tense fi'il madi. Jannatahu, his garden. So one garden here, Jannah, right? Who is his? Wa huwa walhi zalimul li nafsihi. He is one. Zalimun is an action, is an ism referring to a person who is unjust. So as he entered, he was described as a zalimun. That means there's an isim being used, not yazlimu, but zalimun. That means he is always in a state of being unjust to himself. Li nafsihi, to himself. Li, to, nafsi, self, he, him, himself. Qala, he says, ma adhunnu. Ma is not here. Adhunnu is fi'il mudari in its rafa state. I think. Ma adhunnu, not I think. And that tabida. Hadihi refers to this garden, right? Hadihi is female entity. Jannah is female. The ta here is female. Perish this, that means this garden is to be perishes. That perishes this abada, forever. Wadakhala jannatahu wa huwa zalimun li nafsihi. Qala ma adhunnu an tabida hadhihi abada. So he entered his garden while he wronged himself. That means he's full of himself, he's arrogant. The last verse, right, mentioned about him saying, I'm greater than you in wealth and I'm mightier than you in following, right? So that is, of course, an act of shaitan, because shaitan is arrogant. I am better than him. So whoever says that without considering, all right, the gifts that Allah has given him, without having sense of humility, right, is a person who zalim himself. He is a zalim. وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. This gives an element of contrast to this garden which did not wrong him, right? Not the garden wronged him, but he wronged himself. He does himself a great wrong by being arrogant and ungrateful to Allah for all the blessings he enjoys, as if it is mine. I'm the one. I am the one. I am richer than you. I am much more mightier than you, talking about his might and his powers. He does not praise his Rabb for what he has given him. He doesn't say, MashaAllah, he doesn't say, Alhamdulillah, right? But he talked. So that is why he is considered as a zalim, a person who thinks of himself as the one who gets, who owns this thing and who deserves, who work hard for what he has. It's like, Qarun. Qarun was a man during the time of Fir'aun. He was of the people of Bani Israel, but he becomes so rich and powerful that he considers all these things, that he considers himself self-made. So he forget that all this rich and wealth comes to him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an action full of conceit, which means in effect that he is unjust to himself. He considers his gardens to be paradise, or Jannah. And so this word Jannah, of course, means garden, but Jannah also means paradise. So there is a play of words there. The Mufassirin looks at it, right? That this Jannah is as if this is my paradise, that kind of thing. Does he behave like those mean persons who, when rise to power and wealth, are always involved in the misunderstanding that they are enjoying paradise in this world? Therefore, they do not stand in need of any other paradise. So this is the height of arrogance, that they have got everything. Everything is good for them, right? That's what life is all about, enjoying the great fruits of their labor. Qala, he says, Ma adunnu an tabida hadhihi abada. And he even says, so Allah distract what he says, not I think that it will perish. Well, that this will perish forever. So he's saying that his garden is going to be like that forever. Nobody can destroy his garden. He is in control, right? He can have lots of wealth from his garden. So this is like the description of arrogance, a description of conceit, a description of a person who believes that everything will last forever for him. Like we have in Surah Wailul likulli humazatil lumaza alladhi jama'a malau adada. Those who gather wealth and count them. Yahsabu anna malahu akhlada. He thinks his mal will be there forever. Kalla la yumbadanna fil hutama. No, they will be thrown into the hellfire. All right, so this is the reality of these people. Allah keeps on describing them so we will understand that we will not fall into that kind of trap. He thought that it could never come to an end or cease or be destroyed. This is because of his lack of understanding and the weakness of his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's so full of himself, he's so obsessed with what he has that he thinks that all these things will be there for him forever. He forgets that. And because he was overwhelmed with this world and its adornments, and because he disbelieved in the hereafter. So these are words, right, embedded in it, disbelief, embedded in it that he thinks is going to be there. These things are there for him forever. Qala ma adunnu an tabida hadhihi abada. Wa ma adunnu, and not I think, sa'ah, the hour, qa'imatan, qa'imah, right? The hour is one that comes, that occurs. Qa'imah is stand up, that means to establish itself. One that occurs. Qa'imatan, wala in, and la, wa is and, lam is and, surely in is if, and surely if, ruditu, from the word radada is to return, to is I am returned, is past passive, this is u and if. When it's mudari, I'm sorry, when it's madi, it's u and e. When it's mudari, it's u and ah. And this is for you to understand when it becomes passive. If I am returned, in case I am made to return, ila rabbi, to my Rabb, la ajidanna, la, lam of emphasis, noon of emphasis, root word is ajida, from the word wajada. I find myself. I will surely find khairan, better, minha, than it. Munqalaba, a return. It could refer to the garden. Munqalaba, a place of return. Wa ma adunnu sa'ata qa'imatan wa la irudittu ila rabbi la ajidanna khairam minha munqalaba. So he says, and I don't think the sa'ah, the hour, will ever occur. So now he starts to disbelieve in the resurrection. Right? These are people who doesn't want to believe in the moment, in the time when everything will be destroyed. He thought that these ideas are some things that a group of people had invented to please themselves. Does he believe in God? Maybe. He doesn't. So far, he has not announced himself as a believer in God, right? He went even further than that. And since the eternity of this world contrasts the fulfillment of resurrection, because to think that his produce is going to be there forever, right, would be against the idea of resurrection, because a resurrection means there is a sa'ah, a moment when everything is destroyed. So since he says things will not be destroyed, right, so he starts denying resurrection. Hereafter, he has completely forgotten God, forgotten Allah, thinking that the two gardens will never fail to yield their produce. In the height of this conceit, he denies the last hour when all are resurrected and gathered together before their Rabb. Besides, should this hour be true, he is certain, he is certain he's going to get more than that. Wala in ruditu, and surely if I'm returned to my, in case this story is true, this story about having been resurrected and being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true, then I'll find something better for me, right, in the return. So he took it for granted that Allah would give him this without any sound evidence for that. This ungrateful person clearly displayed his disrespect for Allah by asserting that no disaster would ever touch his garden. He's so sure that everything is good for him. Allah loves him. Allah gives him lots and lots and lots. And that's it. He's going to be there forever. And even because Allah loves me so much, Allah given me so much, that even if there is this resurrection or the hour of destruction, I will for sure go back and be given a very good place. In short, he claimed a kind of godhood for himself. That means he was sure that he will be rewarded. This verse describes people who believe that they will enter paradise without observing the boundaries established by Allah or obeying his commands. Some people we have among the Christians also, they believe that we take Jesus as God and you can do whatever you want to do and we go to heaven, and because Jesus has died for our sins, you can do whatever. And some people who say, oh, because we are Muslims, for sure we're going to go to heaven. Yeah, but Islam, Allah, yes, Allah promise you heaven, but Allah gives you directions on how to lead your life. You must honor him as your God. You must take him as your God. You must not be conceited. You must not be arrogant. Even a small seed of arrogance, and that's it. You end up in hellfire. Right? So the actions are very important. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must have realization and be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever you have. You're not so sure because Allah loves you, Allah gives you so much, you're going to go to heaven in the next world. Such people consider themselves exempt and are arrogant with Allah. Many people say they believe in Allah in the Quran, although they have no fear of him. They say, yeah, I mean, I've heard of this person who says he doesn't pray 5 times a day. But when you say, inshallah, 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 tomorrow I'll do it. You don't say inshallah because inshallah is you're using the name of Allah. You must honor Allah. You must magnify Allah. You must, you only say inshallah for really great things. But for simple things like coming to work tomorrow, you don't say inshallah. So this is interpretation, you see. And yet he doesn't pray 5 times a day. And yet he says he honors Allah. Allah knows best instead, right? We hope that his honoring of Allah would bring him back to understand that to honor Allah is to bow to him and to sujood to him. They do not obey Allah's commands and do not follow the Rasulullah's path, Rasulullah's path. Yet they have a strong faith that they will go to paradise after they die. So they are so sure that they will go to paradise. And we have the story of the man who did ibadah for 500 years. And then Allah asked him, will you go to paradise? Said, yeah, sure, because I've did this. And Allah showed him that his amals is nothing compared to what all that Allah has given him. If you want to repay all that Allah has given him, all his amals will be used up in no time. But he goes to heaven because of the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you must always seek the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is plain arrogance. It makes people who have wealth, position, power, and influence think that the values that dictate the way they are treated here in this life will apply in their favor in their life to come. Think that they will be treated in the same way in Allah's supreme society. Their line of thinking is that since they enjoy such privileges in this life, they must then have a position of favor with the Rabb of the heavens. So for sure, I will have a better place in the next world because I've given so much in this world. So Allah has mentioned that this is actually istidraj, right? In Surah Al-A'raf, where Allah give, and you think you think you have so much, and you work and you live life. Say some people say, oh, I don't pray, so I get lots of things. You all pray, so what you get? So this is kind of comparison. People make arrogance. This is what it is. All right. وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الرَّجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا جَنَّتَيْنِ مِنْ أَعْنَابٍ وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا بِنَخْلٍ وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا كِلْتَا الْجَنَّتَيْنِ آتَتْ أُكُلَهَا وَلَمْ تَظْلِمْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا وَفَجَّرْنَا خِلَالَهُمَا نَهَرًا وكان له ثمر فقال لصاحبه وهو يحاوره أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منها منقلبا. صدق الله العظيم. Let's end with a dua. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم أستودعك ما علمتني فردده إلي وقت حاجتي إليه فلا تنسينيه يا رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا انفعنا بما علمتنا. ربي علمنا الذي ينفعنا. ربي فقهنا وفقه أهلنا وقرابات لنا في ديننا مع أهل القطر أنثى وذكر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلى الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله.